everybody, Rachel Micallef here from Empire Tax Professionals. I'm the CEO of Empire Tax Professionals. I'm also licensed by the IRS and licensed in 50 states. And today I wanted to go live and let you know what are the next steps that you need to do as business owners as soon as you open your entity. So I hope that you watched my earlier video in regards to what entity you should be choosing, whether it would be a single member LLC, a sole proprietor is not really an entity, but a lot of business owners are sole proprietors, partnerships, multi-member LLCs, S corporations, C corporations, etc. So if you did not watch that video, please watch it before this because this is like the next steps. So I will teach you exactly what you need to do right after you open an entity. And a lot of business owners are confused because they Google multiple things, they speak to multiple people such as attorneys, bookkeepers, accountants, and not one person really tells you everything you need to know. And a lot of people tell you mixed things. Attorneys may tell you what you need to do to protect yourselves. Bookkeepers may tell you, how to make sure bookkeeping is accurate, but then they don't really give you advice on payroll and sales tax and other things that are crucially important for your business. So I'm going to go over that for you. And if you have any questions, let me know what your questions are. I'm also going to let you know how you can know this on your own without spending thousands of dollars in accounting fees and being in the dark because you're not really ready to hire accounting firms, right? I'm speaking to business owners that are making about less than $10,000 to $15,000 on a monthly basis, or at least $100K, less than $100K on an annual basis. It could be a little bit more, but you really can't afford an accountant, but you need to understand exactly what you need to do, and I'm going to share that with you. So again, if you have any questions, let me know what your questions are. Comment below. I love doing this. This is my passion, educating business owners and letting them know what they need to do and guiding them throughout the entire, process is one of my favorite things to do. So step number one, you opened your entity, now what? So I don't know if you watched the other video and I explained my attorney opened my company and he gave me a lot of bad advice, literally gave me lots of bad advice, and he didn't tell me, okay, you need to be an S-corp. So I wanted to be an S-corp, and the next steps, let's assume that you want to open an S-corp and you need to file a 2553 with, from federal standards. A lot of business owners don't know how to fill that out or what they need to do as far as making sure you fax it over to the IRS, because a lot of times when you open a corporation online, whether you open it on your own, a lot of people think they are automatically an S-corp, and you are not until you get an approval from the IRS saying, dear company name, you are an S-corp starting this date, January 1st of 2020. You always want to be an S-corp from the beginning of the year or from the time that you opened the entity. So let's say we're in June, right? You open the company June 15th. It won't make sense for you to, the IRS to start your S corporation starting January 1st. It would be from the time that you opened the entity, okay? Now it gets a little bit confusing I'm not gonna get into that, but that's what you want. The 2553 is a very important document, and you wanna make sure that you fax it over to the IRS within 75 days of the time that you opened the company. If you did not fax that over, that's a problem because the IRS would assume that you're a C-corp, and you will end up, if you are a C-corp, you will end up overpaying in taxes because you are the wrong entity. Now, again, 75 days, you must fill out that form. Now, some states have an S-election form that you need to file. You need to look at your state to see, does my state have an S-election form that needs to be filled out? How does it need to be filled out? Where does it need to be faxed to? And you want to get a confirmation that you faxed it within 75 days, because sometimes 6 months later, the IRS may say, or even a year later, the IRS may still assume that you're a C-corp, and you would say, no, I faxed the documentation on time to the IRS, and they may say, oh, I'm sorry, we never got it, which can happen because it's unorganized. The IRS is extremely unorganized. So you want to make sure that you are extremely organized and you have a permanent file in, an online folder. We have a secure portal for our clients where we have a permanent file, and things go there such as your, the organization or your corporate documents, your EIN letter, your S-corp forms, the CT6 for New York State, and documentation that are permanent, like information that you need, your business online agreements, things like that, really need to be in the permanent file, okay? So just make sure that you fax over that form within 75 days, get a confirmation that you did, keep it in your permanent file, and make sure with the state that you are also an S-corp and you're doing everything that you need for the state. New York State has a CT6 form. You need to, again, file that, fill it out, fax it over, and keep it in your files and get confirmation. Okay. Next thing is you want to open a bank account. So, okay, you open the entity, you filled out the S-election forms, and now you want to open a bank account. A lot of business owners are like, what? I need to open another bank account? I had an account under my name, let's say under your personal name. So yes, now you need to open a bank account. Now to us, it's very common for us, but for a lot of business owners, they did not know. And because of that one step, it causes them to overpay in taxes, because if you did not open a bank account under the entity name, the IRS would still assume that you're a sole proprietor. And if you're a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, you have high risks of getting audited. Plus you have high risks of you overpay in taxes, so you don't want that. As soon as you open an entity, within a week, let's say, based on your own schedule, you really want to open a separate bank account for that entity. You go to the bank and you ask them, and you tell them, hi, I opened a corporation. They're going to ask you, for official documentation. You would need to give them the certificate of corporation or the articles of incorporation. When you open the corporation or the entity, they would give you, organization papers or paperwork to prove that you are a solid entity. They would also help you, or they would give you an EIN letter. Now, in my coaching course, I will teach you how to open or how to get an EIN letter. And the questions on the IRS website are so tricky that you want to make sure that you're answering it correctly. Because if you don't, then, like for example, it asks you, are you going to have any payroll? As of right now, you may not have employees, but later you may. And I believe if you click on yes, they may assume or they may look for payroll returns if you say yes, but it's going to be in the future. So you have to really know how to answer those questions very specifically, and we'll teach you that. So you open the bank account, you get the articles of incorporation, the certificate of organization, then, or the certificate of the certificate documents, then you get the EIN letter. Then you're gonna give them the 2553 form, because they're gonna ask you, what type of entity are you, right? Are you a C-corp? Are you an S-corp? Are you a single member LLC taxed as an S-corp? Because single member LLCs can be taxed as an S-corp, and that's a huge thing that a lot of business owners are not familiar with, or they did not know that they're able to do that. So for example, my name is Rachel Mikulov, right? Rachel Mikulov LLC. I'm an LLC by default, but I'm taxed as an S-corp. Or you're a C-corp and then you're taxed as an S-corp. So you can convert some of the entities over to an S-corp. And I've seen business owners start a new entity from the very beginning because they did not know this one thing. And it's costing them, again, lots of time by closing the other entity, reopening it, closing the old bank account, reopening it. All you needed to do is just one form, properly filed on time. And honestly, they really needed guidance. Like, a lot of business owners are complaining to us that they're not getting proper guidance from their accountant. And that's the one thing that's setting them back. Like, if you don't have proper guidance, then you can't move forward faster. And that's the one thing that a lot of business owners are complaining, which we will give you here. So again, you open a bank account, you get the proper information, then you go to the bank, they open the bank account for you. You're good, right? Now you're done with that specific step. Then you need to tell all your vendors that you're a corporation now, or you're an entity. You're a new entity. You need to tell them to start paying you to that account. You got your account number, you got checks, right? So now you need to set up your Stripe, your PayPal. All of your merchant accounts must go into this account. You don't want any income going to your personal account anymore, all your income should really go to your business account. And actually all of your expenses that are related to your business must go through that account, because when you do your bookkeeping, you should not be reconciling your personal statements, and you should not have any expenses paid from your personal account. You should only have expenses paid from your business account. It's crucially important. No expenses should be paid from your personal. Personal needs to be specifically just for personal, and your business expenses should be paid from your business account, okay? So now that you're telling all your vendors, let's say you have 10 clients, or I'm mainly speaking to people that are consultants, real estate professionals, special ed teachers, let's say, that have like different jobs and they're working with different agencies, or consultants, course creators, Amazon sellers. You need to tell all your vendors, hey, I opened an entity. I want to make sure that the 1099 at the end of the year partially would go to your personal. Let's say you open the entity today, or moving forward, all of the income would be reported under your entity name. Oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you how important that distinction is, okay? So now all your income goes into that business account, all your expenses get paid from that business account, and now you're able to start your bookkeeping process. You get QuickBooks, and I highly recommend, and I highly am warning you that you should not do this yourself. And I mean, sometimes it's easier if you're not making that much to do this on Excel. QuickBooks makes things a little bit more difficult and more complicated. You're gonna waste a lot of time on a software that you don't need to learn because you're not accountants. I've seen virtual assistants. I had a virtual assistant client who double counted their income and double counted some of their expenses in QuickBooks because they entered something incorrectly. You don't want that. You need a software to help you and not hurt you. So sometimes if you're not making that much money, Excel may be better, where you report your income, you report your expenses, and you're good. As you start growing, you want to delegate and you want to outsource this piece, because this is not something that you should be focused on as business owners. What you really need to be focused on is sales, marketing, hiring, how to delegate your time so you can work on the most important things, such as the heart surgeon, right? The medical assistants or whatever, the staff, they get everything they need. They get the vitals, they get all the information, they get everything ready for the heart surgeon. The heart surgeon comes in, does whatever they needed to do, and then they leave. They are focused on the specific key skill that they are highly skilled, and that's where you want to go. So if you're doing operations, if you're hiring, if you're doing sales and marketing and multiple things, you are going to get overwhelmed, especially if you spend hours on your accounting. We need to save time as entrepreneurs, because the reason we opened our company is for us to have more freedom. And if you're going to be doing multiple things, the most important things, which are sales and marketing, plus accounting, plus hiring, plus systems and processes, all of that, and then plus I didn't even mention the delivery, right? The delivery work. If you're going to be doing all of this, you are going to be burnt out and overwhelmed, okay? But sometimes when you outsource it, you need to understand what you're looking at. You want to make sure that your accountant is doing the right work. I've seen a lot of business owners delegate their work out, and then they come to us for us to review their work, and we see there are so many mistakes. For example, we had an Amazon seller earlier this year who said she hired a CPA to do her Amazon reconciliations, and the CPA did not understand how to reconcile PayPal. And we're like, okay, you didn't know how to reconcile PayPal, that's fine. Then we asked her, okay, Miss Amazon seller, you're a corporation. She was making like $800,000 annually. And I said, can you please tell me who's your payroll provider? And she said, okay, she mentions the payroll software. I said, okay, you're a single member LLC. Your accountant never filed the S election. I don't know why. Major mistake. The accountant was thinking small, did not tell her that she needed to be an S-corp. And her payroll service provider was a software. So I said, okay, 1 second. You thought all this time that your payroll was covered, you delegated it, you outsourced it, you were good, you were focused on your Amazon business growing to, $1 million now, I think, and your payroll is a mess. And she said, why? I said, because you're a single member LLC and not taxed as an S-corp, and it is illegal for the owner to pay themselves on payroll. And she looks at me, my accountant never told me this. I said, did they review your entire situation? Maybe if they did, because a lot of accountants want to do one thing, right? Accountants focus on just tax prep. Bookkeepers focus on just bookkeeping. Payroll people just think about payroll. Like literally, that's the only job they have, is to look at your payroll and process. She goes to the payroll company. They did not ask her, what entity are you? And I see this so many times. I'm sure there are other people there. If I could help one person understand that it is illegal for sole proprietors and single member LLCs for the owners to be on payroll, it would make my day. This person had to amend her payroll returns, amend her corporate returns, and she was so frustrated that her CPA did not tell her that it is illegal. Now, I understand the CPA standpoint. She only hired them to prepare the returns. He should have looked into this a little bit more. But that's the business owner's problem, because it is you who hired that accountant that just does one thing, right? You want to make sure as business owner, you are going to one company that can look at the entire picture and guide you. So what we do, for example, we look at your entity. We understand your entire business and we say, entity selection. Like we have a detailed checklist. Is your entity properly set up? Okay, good. Is your bookkeeping properly set up? Let's review and audit the entire books. Are you properly paying yourself? How much are you paying yourself? Is your sales tax accurately filed? Are you selling a tangible item that may need sales tax filings? Let's file your corporate returns and make sure everything is in the proper boxes, because one thing can throw off the entire thing, right? In this situation, her bookkeeping was a mess, but let's assume that it was not a mess. Her payroll was a mess. At the end of the year, her CPA filed it, got payroll returns, and didn't notice that the owner was on payroll. I mean, it just drives me crazy how some accountants, they're just hired to do that job, and they don't look at the entire picture. They don't think out of the box, which costs a lot of business owners thousands of dollars in taxes, in fees, and in time, energy, things that we don't have. And that's a major problem. So we need to, it's my mission to tell people out there, to warn business owners that it is more than just hiring an accountant. So we also had another client last year, a car repair shop hired an accountant who was processing their payroll, right? Okay, hired their accountant who was processing payroll. Guess what happens? Sales tax, an agent comes to his shop and says, hey, let's say Bill Smith, you didn't file your sales tax for the past 6 or 8 quarters. He goes, what are you talking about? I have an accountant. She goes, great, can we speak to your accountant? He calls his accountant and says, hey, I have an agent here in front of me and sales tax hasn't been filed. Do you know what's going on? And she tells him, you never hired us to pay your sales tax. That's something that I don't do. And he goes, what do you mean? I literally felt his heart drop, okay? He goes, what do you mean? But you're my accountant. Aren't you supposed to file my sales tax? Who else is supposed to do that? And she goes, no, we don't do that. That's not a service that we provide. But he goes, okay, why didn't anyone tell me that I needed to do this? Because he assumed as a business owner that everything was filed. He had an accountant and he's good, right? No, he wasn't. He came to us, we had to file all his sales tax returns, review his books, review his payroll, and make sure he is up to date and current with all the tax types that you are responsible for federal and state. It is dangerous to speak to different people for different things. And I don't know why, I don't know how these payroll service companies are doing really well. It just shows how many business owners are not aware of what they need to do. I had another client, another Amazon seller last year, and oh my God, the stories that she was telling us was crazy. Like her accountant would charge her for every email that she would send. Oh my God, it was horrible. And then she told me her bookkeeper did the bookkeeping for her. She never got the books. I don't even know how. So they were doing bookkeeping as a secret and never really told the client that that the bookkeeping was done. Bookkeeping was done months later and the client never got reports. She even told me she was scared to reach out to the accountant because she would charge her for every 15-minute increments. That's crazy. And then she said, Rachel, I hired her to prepare my payroll returns, and all of this time I thought she was doing it, everything was good, and the accountant would give her, in her mind, right? The accountant would give her copies of the payroll returns, and she would think, okay, she's giving me copies, I'm good, I don't need to do anything. And she's like, all of a sudden, I guess a few months later, she gets a notice from the IRS and says, hey, we haven't gotten any of your payroll returns. She takes this IRS notice, and as usual, you go to your accountant and you say, hey accountant, I got this IRS notice, please review this for me and let me know what I need to do. And she goes, the accountant tells her, what do you mean? I emailed you the payroll returns so you can mail the payroll returns. And she said, I never got proper instructions. I never knew that I needed to mail payroll returns. And I said, first of all, why are you mailing payroll returns? Everything is electronic. That just shows a bad sign of an accountant if they tell you that you need to mail payroll returns. Business owners are very busy. We don't have time to do an extra thing. I'm extremely busy. I have 30 people working with me, and it is impossible for me to, print something, sign. It's another job that doesn't need to be done. Your accountant should be e-filing these things for you and make your life easier. So she's like, something was wrong. I was paying her way too much money. The client tells me about her accountant. And she's like, I'm done. Left that accountant. And again, I don't know if an agent came, but they got an IRS notice, and nobody wants an extra unnecessary IRS notice that you don't need, right? Nobody wants that. You want to make sure that you are compliant, especially when you're hiring an accountant who can help you be compliant in every area. I don't know why the accountant told her to mail the payroll returns, but this is another example of where you have multiple people doing multiple things and nobody is an expert. So it's really scary to see, again, business owners having multiple people, and it just hurts the business owner. It really, really does. If you understand how it hurts you, because when you have a bookkeeper, they're just looking at the bookkeeping numbers. They're doing data entry. They're not helping you process payroll and letting you know how much your payroll should be, which is another major problem. If you think about who tells you how much your payroll should be, think about it. You as a business owner, you're probably the only, how would you know how much your payroll should be, right? So you call a payroll company and you say, hey, my accountant told me that I need to be on payroll. Okay, let's process you. Let's process your payroll. So, and then they say, okay, how much do you want your payroll to be? 50,000? I think my expenses are like 5,000 a month, so maybe it should be 60,000. No, business owners should not make a decision of how much your payroll should be. Your accountant should tell you how much your payroll should be based on your living expenses. You should have a discussion. So the way we do it is we do the bookkeeping in-house and we review the bookkeeping numbers. Then we're looking at accurate financials so we can make accurate decisions. Problem is, a lot of these bookkeeping software companies, the bookkeeping is incorrect, so everything after that is going to be incorrect, okay? That's why we recommend going to an accountant who does it all in-house. So your bookkeeping numbers are accurate. Then we say, okay, your net is $20,000 or your net is $10,000. Your payroll should be $5,000, $6,000. We've seen business owners say the entire net amount should be payroll, but then you're overpaying in taxes. Some of it could be payroll, which you're going to be paying 60%, or sorry, not 60%. You're going to be paying, 15.3%, but 15.3% for Social Security, Medicare, state and income, whatever. But then the other part could be distribution. And if you're asking business owners, S-corp specifically, are you paying yourself a distribution? Most of them would say, my accountant never told me that. My software payroll provider never told me that. My bookkeeper never told me that. So guidance is what's missing in the business owner's space. Nobody is telling people how much their payroll should be. People, yes, are processing it, but they're not telling them, hey, your payroll should be 4,000 instead of 7, because just that difference can help you save thousands of dollars in taxes over time. Nobody's telling you how much your distribution should be so you can lower your risks of audit, because if your distribution is way too high, your audit risks go up. So most business owners are afraid. They'll say, I don't care to pay the extra taxes. I don't want the IRS contacting me. Let me just make, my payroll 10,000. No, this is why you have proper guidance, and we will tell you what your payroll should be and what your distribution should be based on the facts, based on looking at your numbers. Then nobody really tells business owners how much their estimated taxes should be. And one of the biggest complaints that business owners are having is they have an unexpected tax bill at the end of the year. Why would business owners have an unexpected tax bill at the end of the year when you have a bookkeeper, a payroll service provider, an accountant at the end of the year? Do you know why? Because not one person is looking at the entire picture. Your bookkeeper, again, is focused on numbers. Your payroll service provider has one job. Your accountant has one job. Nobody's saying your bookkeeper should be looking at your net income and say, hey, your net is $100,000 for this year. Do you think you should pay 20% in taxes to the IRS and maybe 10% to the state? Do you think you should make some estimated payments every single quarter? Every quarter, you need to know your tax deadlines. April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, January 15th. Those 4 quarters, you are required to make estimated tax payments. But guess what? Your bookkeeper is not a tax person. They don't look at the bookkeeping numbers with the tax lens. They're looking at the bookkeeping numbers to make sure that everything is in the proper category. So when an accountant, a high-level accountant, looks at the entire picture, we're looking at entity, bookkeeping, payroll, estimated tax payments, sales tax. We speak to business owners on a daily basis, and the things that we hear behind closed doors are scary. And if you have multiple people in your books and a business owner is speaking to so many people, it just makes your head spin. And you're talking to so many people, your energy units are just being spread out, and it's not even helping you in any way. So if you're a business owner, making $10,000 to $15,000 on a monthly basis, I recommend outsourcing it to one company who could look at your overall picture, and it may make sense. If you're not there yet, because our minimum fees are $550 or $600 on a monthly basis to do all of that, right? Because we're like a full service. Plus, I didn't even mention IRS notices, who helps them with that, or guidance, or tax planning. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Nobody helps them save money on taxes. Again, bookkeeper does the robotic work, payroll, robotic work, accountant, data entry. They just prepare the returns. But who's looking at the entire picture and saying, hey, your net is $100,000. Should we hire your kids? Should we rent your home to your business? Should we set up an accountable plan? Should we put money into an IRA before the year ends? Keyword, before the year ends, not when you meet your accountant in March or February. In November, you should be having these meetings with your accountant, or October, reviewing your year-to-date income and seeing what you are able to do legally to reduce your taxable income. And it should really be all year round, which is what we do. We say, hey, you need to increase your payroll in the year, because you can increase it at the end of the year, but then it just becomes, why? Why should you wait until the end of the year? You should either increase your payroll, decrease your payroll during the year, and look at your numbers on a monthly basis so your accountant can give you guidance every single month. So one, you can save money on taxes every month. You can reduce the risks of audit. You can be compliant with what you need to do, because peace of mind costs millions of dollars. Peace of mind, I'm going to say it again because it does. There's so many people that we speak to, they have, the anxiety that the business owners have because their books are a mess, because they're not sure if they're paying themselves properly. It's just taking a lot of mental space in their mind, and because of that, they're unable to do so much more and grow their business to the next level. So peace of mind is key. I mentioned, okay, so once you open the entity and everything, you want your accountant to give you guidance on how to pay yourself, how much to pay yourself, how to set up your bookkeeping based on your entity. And we will show you how to set up your entity if you want. That's what the Wealthy CEO Accelerator. So if you're making $10,000 to $15,000, or if you want to learn bookkeeping on your own, I highly recommend purchasing my coaching program, because I am going to go over in detail entity selection, how much to pay yourself, how to pay your estimated tax payments for your state, how to fill out the 2553 form, and everything from A to Z, how to set up QuickBooks. We have a full agenda. I'm sure my team can put that in there. And tell you exactly what expenses are deductible for which entity and what expenses are not deductible, right? Because you really want to know what you can do to deduct every single expense legally. And when you do know what you can deduct, then you could save money and reinvest it into your business, such as marketing, hiring salespeople, right? Because the ROI is so much, if you save money on taxes and you put $10,000 into marketing, you're able to make that $40,000 depending on what you do, such as Google AdWords or Facebook ads, or hire a coach. I mean, hiring a coach is one of the best things that anybody can do. But when you save money on taxes, you have more money in cash flow, and then you're able to invest it into bigger and better things that you want. So I highly recommend asking me any specific questions that you may have. I hope that this video helped a lot of business owners out there. Our goal is to help business owners really be compliant, save money on taxes, reduce the risks of IRS audit, because IRS audits take a lot of time, money, energy, frustration, things that no business owner really needs. And what we want to do is just focus on growing, expanding, being a better self and having peace of mind, because as a business owner, our mind and focus is everywhere, and we really need to focus on the most important things. So thank you so much for everybody for watching. Again, if you have any specific questions, let me know what they are. I'm Rachel Mikulov. I'm licensed by the IRS. I'm a licensed enrolled agent, and I have a full service tax firm where we do bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax, corporate returns, individual returns. We have like a virtual CFO monthly package where we do this on a monthly basis and offer business owners everything they need so they can save money. Now, if you can't afford that, or if you don't need that yet because your business is not at least at 100K annually, then I would highly recommend purchasing my Wealthy CEO package or Wealthy CEO Accelerator course coaching program. That is, that we will train you exactly how to do it yourself. And I will be, doing Zoom lives and training you. Okay, this is the entity, giving you all the details that you need to know, answering your questions with another licensed enrolled agent in a private Facebook group, and we're gonna give you our all. So I hope this, either way, whichever service you need, let us know, and we will 100% help you. Feel free to share this with your friends and family, and I will see you later. Thank you guys. Bye.